Live, we have 4 simple rules. Number 1, we don't discuss politics, ever. Number 2, this is not a religious channel, and while you might hear people say, God bless you, or I'm going to pray for you, or I wouldn't have gotten through this without my faith, that's fine. What's not fine is to say, my God is better than your God, or here's why you're not getting into heaven. It's not going to fly. Number 3, we believe wholeheartedly if you can't control your tongue, then you can't control your life. So while on board, there's not going to be any cursing in the live chat, period. And number 4, there is no room for mean people on the lifeboat. Because we discuss very sensitive things from people's past in our group setting, we got to protect those people. The only way they feel confident and comfortable discussing those things is in an environment that is free of trolls and mean people. So if you're a mean person or you're a troll, we're going to block you for life. And if your account happens to be less than 24 hours old, we're probably a little suspicious right from the word go. Why? Well, because there are people in this world who enjoy being cruel solely for the sake of being cruel. It's not going to fly here. But if you're here because you're trying to get sober and live your best life, then you might find that the lifeboat is just that, a lifeboat. I'm Captain Tommy Scoville, and we will see you on deck. Good morning, everybody. I'm Captain Tommy Scoville, and you're on the lifeboat. So, last night, Heather Joy became an official YouTuber. You are not an official YouTuber until the big red button decides that you have stepped on someone's toes for a violation of copyright infringement. So, as I was telling her last night, nothing to worry about. But it certainly makes you an official YouTuber. And I loved the subject matter enough where I thought I'd talk about it a little myself. We've done a lot of shows on honesty and lack of it, but it's one of those shows that no matter what happens, you can't really visit it enough. I've said before that the fruit of addiction is dishonesty, is lies, and it's just one of those really unusual. No matter how hard you try to fix it, the hardest thing to do away with once we get sober is that habit of dragging dishonesty with us into the new life. And it's just that, if you think back to when you first started getting high, and it was, or getting loaded or whatever your substance of choice is. Good morning, Heather Joy. When you first start getting high, there is that first moment where all of a sudden getting high goes from being this fun diversion to being something that someone is willing to give you crap about. And it can be, a family member, it can be a mother, a father, whatever. But the first time that somebody says to you, boy, you know what? You look like you're stoned. You look like you're high. You've been drinking. What's up with your nose? So your eyes look bloodshot, whatever the case may be. That first time that we go, no, man, I haven't been doing that, right? Or I don't do that. The first time we make that statement, the first time we deny something that, right? The first time you do it, it's fun. It's like, you almost want people to know, especially if it's something that you started when you were really young. There was that almost the badge of honor that we were doing something that we shouldn't have been doing. And there's something really cool about that. And the first time that changes into something that needs to be denied, we all start down a process that leads us to a road of dishonesty that we have a difficult time getting off of. Paul Sargent, good to see you. It's and Monk, good to see you. It's one of those situations where all of a sudden we need to lie about our habit. We need to mislead people. We need to tell people that, nah, man, I haven't done that in a while. I quit, and it becomes something that becomes so ingrained. Hold on one second here. Paul Sargent is 1 year sober. How damn awesome is that? Congratulations, my friend. That is epic. That is absolutely epic. I love it. 1 year, 365 days without a substance is really something worth getting all kinds of happy about. Congratulations, Paul. That is really awesome. Made my day. Truthfully, made my day. But the we start down the road. We start down the road of lying, of telling people that we're not using, or worse, because that's what starts the ball rolling. And then lying becomes such part of the fabric of who we are that I've told the story. I don't know how many times on the boat I've told the story, but I got to a point toward the end of my addiction that I would begin my lies a month or two ahead of time. When you have to come up with $600 or $700 a day in order to feed your habit, then you have this routine that you get up in the morning and you steal. And toward the very end of my addiction, that happened a lot less often, because instead of going out and robbing a Home Depot, stealing tools to go sell, or stealing $500 worth of steak from three different stores and then going to sell it at 50 cents on the dollar in the hood, I began robbing banks. And when you start to steal money from a bank, you're welcome, Paul, you earn that. You get enough money from a bank robbery where you can you rip off a bank, and if it's a good one, you're getting $18,000-$20,000, and that will buy you enough of your substance of abuse. For me, was black tar, and it would buy enough tar where I wouldn't have to worry about the next theft or the next lie or whatever for a period of time. But prior to that, I would be doing what I was doing. I'd be stealing and selling stuff or whatever. But you would always have to have one in the pipe. There were mornings where you wake up and the dope didn't have legs, right? It didn't. It was one of those batches that you get sick after 6 hours instead of after 8 hours, and you go to sleep nodded out, and when you wake up at 7 o'clock in the morning, you can barely move. You're already vomiting and you're already going through it. So I would have a lie ready to roll for those times, and it usually started with something along the lines of, on a day where I was, flush with dope and everything was good, my family would say like, "Hey, how you been? What's going on? Things good?" "Yeah, but the car is making this just awful sound. I don't know what it is. I probably need to go get it looked at, because it's just, I don't know. It's this kind of rattling or this thunking on the front end of the car. That's just, there's just something seriously wrong. I don't know what it is, but at some point I got to go get this looked at." I had no intention of finishing the lie that day. Batches do to be hella inconsistent. Yeah, they really, really are. While robbing banks, I'm guacaholic. I guess that if you've ever gone back and listened to the any of the old stuff, yeah, I became a bank robber. I actually went to prison for it, which is part of my story. But I was a convicted bank robber. But when I wasn't robbing banks and I was doing small, pettier crimes, I would have one of those in the chamber. And when I would wake up on one of those mornings that was just too much, then I would make the phone call. It might be a month later, might be 2 months later, where I could hit him with the, "Hey, do you remember when I was telling you about the front end thing in my car? It's done." As it turns out, I blew a coniferous pin, right? The foo-foo valve is destroyed. The U-joint is messed up. Whatever the lie was, I was now in a position to, and when you're a pro, when you've been lying long enough, the people would offer you money without asking. They just, yeah, the front end's all screwed up. I don't know what I'm going to do. But I got to get something done because I can't get to work, and it's going to be an issue. And the people in my family were just loving people who would say, "Hey, do you need to borrow some cash to get that fixed?" No, I don't. I'm not trying. I didn't call because I wanted to borrow money. That's not why I called. I called just to tell you what was going on. I don't need money. I'll get this figured out. "No, are you sure?" And by the time the phone call was over, these people were giving me $600 or $700 for the repair of the car, or $1,000 for the repair of the car. And if you had asked them, they would swear on a stack of Bibles it was their idea. It was, and this is the kind of thing that gets to be such an ingrained part of who you are that it becomes a harder thing to break sometimes than the habit itself. Because once the drugs are removed and you've spent 3 decades or 2 decades or 10 years or 5 years or whatever lying to everybody as a way of getting money, then that becomes something that is very, very difficult to break. And those habits um, then become an etched part of who you are, and it is really a difficult thing for a lot of us to break once we get sober. And I remember calling home from prison, and I had been sober for long periods of time. Um, I had 6 months, a year and a half, whatever, under the belt, but I wanted money for something else. It wasn't for dope. Very often at that point, it was for books. My addiction switched from spending every penny I had on dope to spending every penny I had on books to read about sobriety and about everything else. And it was very legit. What I needed the money for was legit, but it was easier just to tell a lie than it was to say, I'm really trying to figure out everything that's wrong with me. I'm really trying to figure out the inner workings of addiction, because this is such a part of my life at this point that I really need, this is what I'm doing. And I've been buying books that are, that are an essential part of what I want to do with the rest of my life. I could have just said that. And I'm sure that people would have jumped on it, but the easier method was to just go with a falsehood, right? Standard prison falsehoods. Hey, you know what? Me and a friend were wrestling in the chow hall and just farting around, and I stepped on the guy's MP3 player, and it's like $165, and the guy's kind of salty about it. And if I don't come up with some money for this dude, chances are it's going to end up in a fist fight. And I really don't want to leave the prison I'm at. I'm in a good place. I got a job. Any chance you could whip me out a couple $100 so I could get this guy a new MP3 player? And I remember having a conversation with my mentor at the time, and the two of us would go in on books. About every couple of months you would get the periodical in the mail, and it would tell you all of these different books that you could get at Half Price Books or any of the different people that cater to guys in prison. And I got most of my drugs for free, as my friend wanted me to do drugs with him. Yeah, you know what, Paul? I went through phases in the course of the 30 years that I was using that I went through that. I had at one point I actually dated a girl who her whole family was in the life, like literally her whole family. This is what that they had done for a very long period of time, and I could drive over to this girl's house at any given time and just say, "Hey, man, I'm hurting," and she'd go, "What do you want? You want a quarter ounce? Quarter ounce, do it? Yeah, it'll last me a couple of days." And yeah, she would hand me drugs, but over the course of 30 years, there are ups and downs. There are times where you really don't seem to need as much as others. But I remember saying to Q, I said, "Hey, I got the money for the because we were buying an entire basically it was like a 7-book series on addiction." And it was going to be $300 and some odd dollars, and we were going to split it. And the thing is, Q had been working in Unicor for so long that he probably had $25,000 on his books. He didn't do dope. So he had kept saying, I'll pay for it, and you just give me the money when you can. And I hated that. It didn't feel right. So I went in and said, "Hey, I got the money." And he goes, "Boy, I thought you weren't going to be able to come up with it." I said, "Yeah, I was able to get it from my family." And I remember like it was yesterday. He goes, "What lie did you tell him?" And for the first time, since getting sober, I was embarrassed. I realized that I was the same scumbag that I was. The only real difference was that now the reason that I was telling the lie was in my, you get to a point where you think what I'm lying about is justified. And, I really do need this. And it's not like I'm spending it on dope or, this was for a really good cause. I mean, yeah, maybe I lied, but the truth is that there's a lot of people down the road who are going to be helped because I just told this lie. And this is a trap that is really difficult to get out of because we spend so much time um, lying about everything that it becomes a stain on your soul. Full of hope, yeah. Boy, Q knew you. Yeah. I think Q not only knew me, but as I've said before, I was the fifth person that Q had done this with. And I don't know what he's on now. We haven't had this conversation. I'm sure he's on 6 or 7 by now. But I was the fifth person that Q had taken the time to really try to get sober, and successfully, I should say. Q tried many people, but not everybody is ready to go. Even the people that he sort of vetted, really, they're not always ready to roll. And but yeah, he just knew addiction, and he knew that. As I say, it's the hardest part of this entire thing is changing who you are. It's not getting rid of the chemical. It's not. Getting rid of the chemical is one of the easiest parts of this entire journey. And for me, I'm not saying this for anybody else, but for me, as I was struggling really difficult with having real difficulty with remaining sober and with not using and with not the ideation and the thinking and the fantasizing and all of the different thoughts that you get that are wrapped around dope. As that started to, as that was always plaguing me, it was because I didn't change who I was. All I did was get rid of the chemical. And as I started to really change who I was, there were certain things that I realized. One was that a half truth is a whole lie. That was one that really slapped me in the face. And I don't think that I came up with that phrase. I think it was something that I got from Q. But a half truth is a whole lie. I needed the money. And yeah, it was going to a good cause. But if I'm BSing to get it, it's a lie. The whole thing's a lie. There's no way to justify being dishonest. And there were other sort of idioms or other sort of quotes that honesty is the first chapter in the book of wisdom, right? When you decide that you really want to change who you are and you start going down the road of just being honest to a fault. I remember very well when I started this process of doing this. Before I went live for the first time on the Big Red Button, I had about 8,000 people on that were following me on Instagram. Maybe it was more than that. I don't know. Somewhere between 8 and 10,000 people were following me on Instagram. And they were following me for one reason and one reason only. And that reason is because I was Johnny Scoville's little brother. And I remember coming out. I did a post that just said, "My name is Tommy Scoville, and I'm a bank robber. I'm a convicted felon," and just boom, I just let it roll. And I lost about 700 subscribers that day. But the people that I didn't lose, a lot of them are here. A lot of them are still with me today. And one of the things that you'll find out is that when you start being honest, you're going to lose. You're going to lose some people. When you really let it out of the closet and you just let everything hang out, there are people you're going to lose. And when I started to do the lifeboat on YouTube, I would get emails from people that said, "Man, you don't have to open up as much as you do." When I went through some really painful, I shared some really painful stuff about my past, and I shared some stuff that was just not comfortable to work through. And you guys know that I'm an emotional guy, and working through some of them, caused me to weep. And I would get emails from people that say, "Man, you don't need to be that honest." And my response back was always, "No, you don't need to be that honest." Right? That's something that you need to deal with yourself. If you don't feel like you need to be that honest with people, man, you're the only person you need to answer to. But I'm the only person that I need to answer to. And my biggest fear in life, hands down, I don't like losing people on the lifeboat. I don't like it when people take their own lives. I don't like it when people overdose. I don't like having to put on ties. All of those things can keep you awake at night if you're having a hard time sleeping. Those are the things that you think about. But my biggest fear in life is getting high. My biggest fear in life is sliding back to the person that I used to be. And I have come to realize that brutal honesty about everything about me, about who I am and who I was, that's the mortar, so to speak, that holds the whole thing together. And for me, I got to be that honest, right? I got to talk about the times that I basically stole from my kids to continue to get high. It's not a fun conversation, but if you're going to go down that road, then it's going to be one of those things that you're either going to go full board, you're either going to go all in or you're not. And for me, lying took on 50 different shades. Let me tell you what I mean by that. There were times that I could lie without being dishonest. I was capable of a lot of stuff. And when I was in prison, I had a job that paid me 6 cents an hour. I made like $40 a month or something. But I had an opportunity to get into Unicor. And if I got into Unicor and I worked with Q, I was going to be making over $100 a month. In fact, on really good months, I could make almost 200, which is a laugh, right? But at the time, it was a huge amount of money, especially when books were $6. $200 put me into a position that I was never going to need to ask anybody on the street for money, and I could continue to do what I needed to do in order to be successful. So I got to a point where I would lie to myself about why I didn't want to go down to Unicor. I'm not going to work for the government I have to have a job. So I'll go down to the kitchen and I'll sit in there and do nothing with my feet on the desk and make my $40 a month. But to go into a factory and work my ass off for the federal government for $100 a month, man, I'm not doing that. It's degrading. It's slave labor. This is the industrial prison complex, and I'm not going to be a part of it. And everything I was saying was a lie. Everything I was saying was a lie. And I started to go down every single morning and put in an application every single morning. And the third day in a row that I went down, the guy said to me, "Coming here every day doesn't help. Man, you put your application in, and when we get to you, we're going to get to you. Coming here every morning is not going to help you get a job." And I said, "Okay." And then I came back the next morning. And I came back the next morning. And I came back the next morning. And I did that for months until one day I was there and a guy said, "Hey, we just had somebody in quality control quit." And I was standing there when the guy said it. He was talking to the boss whose last name was French. And French said, "Well, we need to get a guy." I said, Hey, I'm standing right here. And he said, "Well, we have a waiting list." I said, "Yeah, and who on that waiting list is standing here for the 35th day in a row? How bad do they want it?" I said, "Man, I'll walk over to that table right now and you can start training me." And the guy looked over at French and went, "He's standing right here." But here's what was happening when I wasn't doing that. In order to have a job app in at Unicor, you can't be working somewhere else because they're never going to hire you by pulling you away from another job, because it screws over whoever they're pulling you away from. The person in the kitchen doesn't want to lose their secretary, or the person in maintenance doesn't want to lose the guy that's welding stuff or whatever. So you couldn't have a job. You basically, if you wanted to be in Unicor, you had to get unemployed in order to get employed. And I used to clean cells for people. I used to go into the cells and clean their toilets. And sweep out from underneath their beds. And I'll tell you something, there was nothing more degrading than I've ever done in my life. Nothing. But the other option was being dishonest as a way to get money. And I'd rather scrub a guy's toilet than be that person. I finally reached that shift in my mind where there was nothing in my life that felt crappier than getting cash by being dishonest. I wasn't going to beg anybody for money ever again. So if I had to sweep, or if I had to scrub, or if I was doing laundry for people, right, for $7 a week. I would go in and get all of these guys' laundry and go down and do it. And all day long in that unit, while guys were getting stoned and guys were watching TV and guys were playing video games and all of the crap that these guys were able to do while they were in prison, I was doing whatever I could do. I was able, you know what I mean? And I would look at guys in there that were in wheelchairs. I would look at guys in there that, that were walking on crutches, that had no legs. And I thought to myself, those are cats that can't work. I guarantee you I can work. And if I had to go knocking on door after door after door, which is literally what I did. The day that I quit my regular job, I started knocking on every single door and going, hey, what can I do? Who are you paying to clean your cell? I don't pay people. I can clean my own cell, dude. I'm not paying somebody $20 a month to clean the cell. All right, how about 10? I'll do it for 10. I'll do it for 10. And did I debase myself? In a big way. In a big way. I had to throw what I thought was pride out the window. Funny thing happens when you do that. A really funny thing happens when you do that. It got to a point where when I was carrying that bucket into a cell to go scrub somebody's crapper, I didn't feel like my pride was gone anymore. I felt like my pride was there. I felt like for the first time in my life, my pride might have been there. Was the job glamorous? Hell no. It was degrading. But I wasn't taking advantage of anybody to pay the bills. I wasn't calling home. I wasn't lying. I wasn't begging. I was doing something. And it got to a point where I really feel, and you don't have to be a God person on this channel. You don't. But I got the feeling that when God was, God got to a point where he realized that what I was doing to get stuff done was something that was honoring him. I wasn't doing anything dishonest as a way to take care of myself. And for 30 friggin' years, there was dishonesty in every single thing that I did to make money. And I'm talking about everything, people. When I was putting on a shirt and a tie and making $35,000 a month, I was dishonest. I knew damn well that what I was selling was going to be a failure for 9 out of 10 people. My justification was 1 out of 10 is going to make it. So there's nothing dishonest about what I'm doing. What was dishonest was how I pitched it, how I got on stage and made every single person in that audience believe that all they had to do was buy this $499 package and they were going to be successful. And you know what? I was friggin' good at it. In fact, there were very few people ever that were better at it. But I was a far better human being scrubbing toilets for $6 a month than I was making $800,000 a year as a public speaker and being a scumbag. And it all comes down to honesty, and it all comes down to being honest with yourself, because there's a big difference. And it's why I did the thumbnail the way I did it. It really becomes something completely different when all of a sudden you realize that the person that I've been BSing the longest has been me. Well, I can't do that job. I can't do that job, right? I can't do that. I'm better than that. I'm a friggin' public speaker. I'm not going to go in there and work for $100 an hour on a factory in a prison. No, I'm not better than anything. The realization that I'm not better than anything. I'm a guy that needs to pay his bills. I'm a guy that needs to do whatever needs to be done to pay his bills. I'm a guy that needs to stop lying to everybody else to get money and stop lying to myself about how special I am. And that's just the nature of the beast. And I got a friend. I tell the story on the boat before. I got a friend who I met in prison in the state, not in the feds. And this dude and I had a conversation. And at the time, I was deep into dope. I was deep into the life. And I rolled into a pitch that I had done on stage 1,000 times about what it meant to be an entrepreneur and what it meant to actually want to work for yourself versus wanting to work for other people, blah, blah, blah. It was just me sort of strutting around doing a presentation again that I'd done 2,000 times and I knew made me sound really intelligent, right? I had all of these. Anyway, this guy we called Brady because he looked exactly like Tom Brady. Like this, he was probably 22 when I met him. And this cat was the spitting image of Tom Brady. And the first day he walked into prison, he became Brady. And I was sitting there having a conversation with him and talking about it. And every single day for the next 7 or 8 months before I went home, Brady would come over and ask me questions. And it was always about, he said, I'm going to start my own business when I leave here. I'm going to start my own business. I said, awesome. What are you going to do? Oh, I don't have any idea. I said, well, it's kind of essential that you have an idea. Having a plan is big. And he said, no, I don't care what the plan is. I just don't want to work for anybody else. I don't want to make somebody else rich. And that was part of my pitch. If somebody's paying you $10 an hour, you think they're doing that because you're earning them $10 an hour? They're paying you $10 an hour because you're making them 30. Blah, blah, blah. So I get out of prison, not that prison rip, but the next one, the bank robbery. After getting out from bank robbery, and I was living with the woman that I married, who was the attorney, and I was driving a $100,000 car. I was driving a very, very nice Mercedes-Benz AMG convertible, and I was with my wife in a parking lot at a Starbucks. And my wife said to me, "That person over there in the car is staring at us, like creepy staring at us." And I said, without looking up, because what I was doing was preparing heroin in my lap, and I said, "It's probably the car, babe. It's an AMG. Like people stare at this car. It's a drop top AMG." And she said, "No, this person's in a Bentley." And my head popped up, and I looked around. I was like, "Where are we at?" And she pointed, and it was if I use the term that I want to use, I will get canceled. Let's just say that the color blue on here was not the most masculine color you've ever seen on an automobile. Quite the opposite. But there's this very, very blue car on the other side of the parking lot. And I said, yeah, that person does look to be staring at us. So I'm still messing with this, and I'm trying to get this shot pulled up as fast as possible. And I said, we'll drive over there and I'll ask this guy what his friggin' problem is. And as I'm putting the syringe away, the car pulls towards us. And he comes over in a Bentley Continental GT drop top, right? It's baby blue with an even less masculine blue top, blue soft top. And the person pulls up and rolls down the window, and I rolled it down, and sitting behind the wheel of this car is Brady. And I went, "Brady." And he goes, "Rocco." I said, "Good God, nice car, Brady." He goes, "Yeah, you too." I said, "What the hell happened?" And he goes, "Are you busy?" I said, "Nah." He goes, "Follow me, man. I only live like a mile or two from here." We get in the car and drive straight uphill. And where I live, the higher you go up, the more expensive the property is. And we got to a place in Reno where you can't go any higher. I'm talking about the absolute top of this road. And there were only 4 houses in the top. And each house probably sat on close to an acre, which doesn't sound like a lot if you live in a rural part of America. But an acre where I live is enough to put 5 houses on, right? So, and he's got a circular driveway. He's got a fountain. And I said to my wife, "Holy, you know what?" I said, "Boy, this kid's killing it." So we got out of the car and I went inside. I said, "Brady, what's up?" He goes, "Hold on a sec." And he looked at my wife and he goes, "What size shirt are you wearing?" And my wife was like, "Huh?" And he's like, "I'm going to grab you guys some shirts. What size are you wearing?" So she tells him, and he comes out with the shirts, and I reach for it. He goes, "Oh, I'll tell you what's up first." I said, "What's up?" He goes, "I don't want you to give me any crap about this." I said, "Why would I give you any crap about this?" He said, "Because people like to give me crap about this." I said, "You have my word." And he handed me the shirt. And on the shirt was a picture of a dog dropping a deuce. These were polo shirts. And on there was a picture of a dog squatting down. And I can't remember whether it was Dr. Pooh or Mr. Pooh was the name of his company. And I said, "Brady, what is this?" And he said, "I was talking to my dad after I got out of prison. And I told him that I had intended to start my own business. And He told me that I wasn't smart enough to pick up dog stuff, much less do anything else. And it's exactly what he did. He went door to door in the neighborhood that he lived in, and he knocked on doors and said, "Do you have a dog?" And they said, "Yeah." "How would you like me to come and pick up all of the dog crap at your house? You'll never have to deal with it again. I'll come by twice a week." And he started charging people money to swing by and pick up dog crap. And I said, "And you got this rich doing that?" He said, "No, no, but it started it." He said, "Now I've got 8 people who go around and pick up dog crap." And I said, "How much money did you make, Brady? I'm not trying to be, gauche, but what are we talking about?" He said, "I made $40,000 last year selling the crap that we picked up for compost." He's in 5 cities. He had franchised the business. And this was a kid without a high school diploma. But he figured out something that other people didn't want to do, and he was willing to do it. And do you think it was degrading to go to someone's house, knock on the door, and say, "I'll pick up your dog crap for $10 a month"? When you get to a point where you're done lying to yourself, when you get to a point where the only thing that matters is being able to look at yourself in the mirror and saying, "I did that. No help, no nothing. I did this. This was me." It's so easy to fall into a habit where you are the drug addict you have always been, minus the drug. And as drug addicts, let's be really honest. Society owes us something. Damn it, we're sick, right? We have an illness, and people don't want to treat us like human beings. So you know what? A little government assistance is in order. A little bit of a handout, a little bit of a help, a little bit of a this. When you get to a point where you say, "Nope, no more." A friend of mine used to say, "I don't care if you dig a ditch, as long as you own the friggin' shovel. It doesn't matter what you do, as long as you can look in yourself in the mirror and say, 'I did it.'" He did the equivalent of what I was doing in there scrubbing toilets. The difference is he owns a $1.3 million home in a Bentley Continental. And he had a picture on his mantle. And I said, "Brady, is that your significant other?" He said, "Yeah." And I said, "Good Lord, was she a stripper?" And my wife elbowed me. And I said, "No, I'm serious. Where did you find this girl?" And he said, "I did, actually." He said, "I did. I found her at a strip club." He said it was her 3rd day stripping. And I just said to the girl, "Why are you doing this?" I said, "What were you doing at a strip club?" And he said, "Exactly what you think I was doing at a strip club." He said, "I was spending some of my money." He said, "But I've never gone back." It's a very unusual world we live in. If you want to be the best that you can be, you are going to start being honest with yourself. You're going to look in the mirror and you're going to say, "You know what? This is who I am, and this is what I'm doing. This is how I'm living. These are the things that I do." When I say get up and make your friggin' bed, it's because it is a different paradigm shift from the person that you were. And you realize that that's just making your bed. Being honest is probably the most important thing you can do in your entire life. Because I'll tell you something else. Every time you tell a lie, you tell 2 of them. You tell the lie that you tell the world, and then you feed yourself a line of crap why it's okay. You lie to the world, and then you lie to yourself why it's all right. I'm not doing anything wrong. Here's the reason that that's completely legitimate. You got to tell yourself a lie to justify the first one. When that stops, then you're on your way to becoming the best you can be. And when that begins, you're going to forget about the bottle. You're going to forget about the bag. You're going to forget about the straw and the needle. People, I ain't getting rich getting up at 4:00 in the morning and talking to you people. I assure you of that. And I never will. I won't. And I took too many shots to the head. When I was a skier, I took way too many shots to the head. And it is going to affect the rest of my life. The rest of the time I'm on this planet is going to be greatly affected by the number of concussions that I got. And that's the reality of my life. But the truth is that what I do here at 4:00 in the morning is more important than selling these, right? Selling watches pays the rent. and absolutely pays the rent beautifully. I can, without a shadow of a doubt, um, I can do well doing what I'm doing. I found a way to make money based on something that I know an awful lot about. But getting up and talking to people about sobriety keeps me sober. And it never lets me forget that I was the worst piece of crap that ever walked the planet before I did this. Before I decided that I was going to help people get sober, I was not a good person. And it started in prison. I told you, it started with 4 guys. I put up a little sign that said, I'm going to do a meeting and it isn't 12 steps. And I want to talk to people about sobriety. And 4 people showed up. And I thought to myself, what a waste of friggin' time. Like, I was an arrogant SOB. You know, I used to speak to 5,000 people. I wasn't going to go do this with 4 people. But the next day there were 7. And pretty soon there was about 120. And I have a picture. The next time we go live, tomorrow morning, I'll bring the picture if I can find it, because I have a picture of the whole group outside, standing next to a prison wall, the whole group. And it's a buttload of us. But I started to change. And I started to change more in any other way by being honest. That to me was the absolute shift. It takes strength and it takes courage to admit the truth, especially when that truth is ugly. It takes strength and it takes courage to admit you're not a great person. It takes strength and courage to admit you haven't changed other than stopping your drug of choice. You follow me? I need to restart my old profession, my own business. I stopped to be the Rona, drank instead. Now I'm 4 months into life rehab, as I call it, but my body still wants to be sick. I want time in life too. Grace, it's waiting. I promise you it is. And it's a process, and it's not an easy process. It's a very difficult one. But you know what? There is no legacy on this planet richer than honesty. There isn't. You want to leave a legacy? Leave a legacy of not BSing anybody. And most importantly, don't BS yourself. It is so much easier to be honest to other people than it is to be honest with yourself. So when I get emails from people that say, you don't need to do this, you don't need to tell people all of this about it. I sold my company and now I work for the guy that bought it. Dennis, you know what? That's something I completely get. I have been there and done that. I have been there and done that. I went to work for a company in Salt Lake City, well, in Provo, when I lived in Salt Lake City. And when I walked through the door, they said, we're going out of business in the next 30 days. I'm just being honest with you. So it's kind of a waste to hire you today. And I said, I'll bring with me, because we were doing sales. I said, I'll bring with me an account called the 30-Minute Money System, which was an infomercial that I had written. And this company did not go out of business because I brought that business in. Their company was averaging $6,000 a week in back-end sales. The week that I was hired, I did 130 grand. And this guy walked into the office and went, what the hell? I said, you've had a terrible account. You get enough people on this account, and the amount of, you think that 130 is something, wait till you see this room should be doing $1 million a week. When I got out of prison the last time, I answered an ad that was looking for public speakers. And I got on the phone and I started talking, and the guy said, well, the parent company is called PMG. And I went, good God, that sounds really familiar. I said, are you guys in Provo, Utah? And he said, yeah. The year that I got out of prison, they did $1 billion in sales. That would be with a B. The realization that they wouldn't have been in business if I didn't bring in an account to them, and that they're now making $1 billion a year was painful. It was so painful that my arrogant ass would not go to work for them, because I thought it would be very difficult to be on stage, even if I was making 30 grand a month, knowing that these guys, live in mansions. And in fact, one of the guys that I originally was working for, who said to me, the guy that said to me, we're going to go out of business in the next 30 days. He did a house that was on that television program, Ridiculous Houses or Extreme Houses or whatever. His kids, he has twin sons, and their bedroom is a pirate ship, right? So the bunk beds are in the shape of a pirate ship. And there's a little gangway. So when you open the front door, you walk across a little rope gangplank to get to their bed. And surrounding it are those little round balls that you see at like a McDonald's. So if you jump off the boat, you sink underneath the water. They have a full-size basketball court 4 floors down in their house. And I remember watching this, and the jealousy was disgusting. Like it was a sickness. These days, I'm happy for them. I really am. Is it difficult to know that I could have been a part of it? Yeah, you know what? Not so much. Honestly, if I had stayed with that company, do you know where I would be right now? Buried. What that company allowed me to do was make $6,000 or $7,000 a week without doing a whole lot of effort, and every bit of it went in my arm. The lifestyle that I lived as a public speaker was not conducive to being the person that you're listening to today. The lifestyle that I lived was dishonest. I was telling people things I didn't believe for money, and I will be damned if I am ever going to tell people something I don't believe to get paid ever again. I don't care how much it pays. Honesty is the fruit of sobriety. If you're sober, and I don't mean chemical freaking free, I mean sober, then telling someone something dishonest is going to make you sick. It's going to feel like you didn't get a fix for 48 hours. That's what it's going to feel like. You're going to want to vomit. You're going to want to defecate yourself. Dishonesty is going to be something that literally will put bile in the back of your throat. I'm never going to lie to get paid again. It's not money's not that important anymore. I'd rather get up at 4 o'clock in the morning and tell the truth, and hopefully save 6 people. That to me is a much better way to make a mark on this life than the other route that I was taking. To see, how much I could own, what I could be driving. Yeah, this is a really nice watch. It's also for sale. I happen to be wearing a really sick watch today, and that's a real benefit of what I do for a living, because I love watches and I get to play with them, but I don't own them. Right? This is a $10,000 watch that has somebody else's name on it. They just haven't bought it yet. People come back to me at my job, not because I know everything, but because I don't know, and work with them instead of BSing them to make a sale. I love that, Coburn. I love that. And let's be really honest. The smartest phrase in the English language is, I don't know. I don't know. People hate saying that, right? It makes you feel like you're stupid. Nothing makes you smarter. I love it when I'm talking to somebody about something and they go, back up. I have no idea what you just said. It doesn't make any sense to me. And it happens a lot because of what I do for work. I talk to people about watches all day long, and there are people who go, there are people that it doesn't matter what I say. I could make it up and they're going to go, oh, yeah. But the people that say, I don't know what that means, could you explain to me what that means? They're going to end up being a watch freak. They're not wearing a watch to impress somebody. They're into the mechanism. It's why they want to hear what the hell I just said. They want it explained. There's something absolutely incredible about saying, I don't know. Me neither, Captain. And I did my share of telemarketing ripoffs as well. You know what? Tommy Byrne, I'm not surprised. The hard telemarketing where you make really good money ripping people off is, and you will back me up on this, there's nobody in the room sober. Nobody. In order to do that for a living, you have to get messed up. You can't look at yourself in the mirror if you're sober. Going to get crazy here in Ireland, St. Patrick's Day, drink everywhere. I'm hiding in a hole until the weekend is over. God bless you. God bless you. Do what it takes. Full of hope. I'm proud of you. I really am. I may seem in a worse place, but now I'm better than I've ever been. God bless you, monk. How good does that feel to say? Honestly, how good does that feel to say? My love is music and stereo. John Doe, love it. Tommy Bird says, absolutely zero sober people. Do you realize that when I used to hire people in telemarketing rooms, one of my questions used to be, what are you addicted to? I'm not kidding, people. No joke. I'd say, what's your drug of choice? Because nobody who does what we do does it sober. And I didn't like hiring people whose drugs became an issue. I loved hiring heroin addicts because I knew they had to work. Have a blessed day full of hope. My country, let me see here. I missed that one. Have a blessed day full of hope. My country celebrates and promotes poison for holidays too. M. Hunt, well said. Well said. Full of hope, I am proud of you. M. Hunt, I am proud of you. Truthfully. Yeah, V, you're absolutely right. It's so much better to be sober than to go out drinking for a night and then regretting it. And you'll regret it forever. You won't regret it for a night. Good to see you, CK. M. Hunt, I'm with you. I worked in an insurance call center for 16 years and was sober the entire time. I was an insurance agent for a Hometowners Inn and medical supplements. Vicky Brook, not what we're talking about. Apples and oranges. That's not a telemarketing room. That may be phone stuff. Telemarketing comes in two varieties, right? So that people don't misunderstand what I was saying about telemarketing. There is what's called hard telemarketing, and there's what's called soft telemarketing. Hard telemarketing is, we're going to take $25,000 on your credit card in 30 minutes. There's not going to be a contract, and there's going to be a two-part sale. The first person is going to find out how much money you have on your credit cards. Literally, how many credit cards do you have and how much money do you have available on it? So when I would get the set sheet, it would say, the person's name is Vicky Brook. She has 3 MasterCards. She's got a Visa and an American Express card with available credit of $250,000, $60,000 of which is already taken. That's how I got my set. And then I would get on the phone and put together a package and take $25,000 from you on your credit card in 30 minutes, like that. 20% of which is commission to split between me and the setter. That's hard telemarketing. And the people that do it are on drugs across the board. This weekend may be a project at home to throw yourself into. That's what I'm doing. One little move at a time adds up. Grace, that is what I'm doing for the next week. Every single day, that is what I am doing for the next week. Even yesterday, after the bout, I didn't get out of bed yesterday until about 2:00 in the afternoon. But then I started working on the house, and I did that until the head started doing the thing, and then I took off. But yeah, there really is something to that. Tommy Bird says, I'm talking about TAPS telemarketing. Tommy knows what I'm talking about. Telemarketers hire many people out of rehab. So that must be hard for them to stay sober. We hire a lot of people out of rehab. We hire a lot of people out of prison. I can't tell you how many times I hired somebody that was wearing an ankle monitor. Good morning, Uncle Bill. Looks like you're feeling better. I am. I'm feeling a little bit better. John Doe says, it's all that I do is work on houses. Nothing wrong with that, John Doe. Keep playing the music too. My go-to is crochet. You know what? Full of hope. When I started my rehab group in prison, the only way that the prison would allow me to do the program was if we did some kind of, good for you, M. Hunt. He's got his girl with him. Good for you. Send me some pictures, man. I love getting pictures of you and your kid. Seriously, it gets me high. Literally. So we weren't allowed to, full of hope, we weren't allowed to do, I wasn't allowed to start a group unless there was some kind of an outreach program to help people on the street. And I was given a list of things that were acceptable. The vast majority of which was raising money. And none of these guys had any money. You know, we weren't in that position. But crocheting blankets or hats for homeless people was what was accepted. So if you could have seen 100 convicts sitting and crocheting. If you've been on the boat long enough, you've seen me pull out a hat that I actually crocheted. I brought one home from prison. If you haven't, at some point, I'll put it on. Um, I put in an application for my dream job this morning. Good for you, Coburn. And if you don't get it, don't let that be something that dissuades you. You know, sometimes the dream takes a lot longer than we think it will, and that's not. You know, this is my dream job. It doesn't pay very well, but I'll tell you what, it pays really well. You know what I mean? It doesn't pay well, but my God, does it pay well? That sounds funny. It does, man. If you could, and I'll tell you something. The thing about crochet is that there were guys who used to say, "Well, I'll crochet half, and you can crochet the other half." It does not work that way. You get there's a distance between one person crochets a lot different than the next person. So it became something that you really had to do on your own. And if you knew how many hats I crocheted for homeless people, like I got really, really into it. But it's a great way to keep your hands busy, to keep your brain busy, and to kill time. Crochet is awesome. Absolutely awesome. M. Hunt, she is your world. And I love that, man. I love this boat too, Tommy Bird. You're one of the reasons I do. And I completely understand, M. Hunt. So today I was deleting pictures this morning. I was going through and deleting pictures because when I put up the thumbnails, I will have, I don't do my thumbnails on the laptop. I do my thumbnails on a different device. So the device fills up and you got to empty it. And I was deleting pictures today and I had the picture of me where I was hugging Cedar and I couldn't delete it. For the life of me, I could not delete it. I ended up sliding it over and it was a picture taken for no other reason than to do the thumbnail, but I couldn't bring myself to idle hands get in trouble. Damn straight. Idle hands are the what do they say? The devil's playground or some such. Vicky Brooks says, Heather, last night's show was great. I watched the replay. I did too. I watched it late last night. Oh, yes. The tension is different for everyone. I crochet endless dishcloths and give them away. Everyone loves them. I absolutely believe that. And you're right. The tension, if believe it or not, I had a cellmate and the two of us were so close that we could actually work on something together, but it is damn near impossible. I'm going to keep it, Tommy Bird. I promise you. And here's the thing. It's already up here, right? So it's never going anywhere because I used it for a thumbnail, but I still cannot bring myself to delete it. Spring has arrived. Let's get outside. I love it. I love it. It hasn't arrived here, though. Here, it's going to be here a little later, I guess. Ladybug, what a cool thing to say, man. Good God. I'm not going to read it out loud or I swear to God, I'll cry. Wow. I promise you that will bring tears to my eyes if I read that out loud. Heather Joy, you are very talented. Did everybody get that? Heather is, it's the great thing about having Heather Joy helping me with the lifeboat is that we are absolutely completely opposite in what we do. Heather has talent. I have the ability to speak. And they're two really different things. Heather is far more intelligent. She's far more organized. She's far more structured. And I think it's really a bonus to have the two of us. Angel Wings, even straightening yourself up, getting a new nice do haircut gives you that boost of confidence. Feel better about yourself. Gave my kid a good haircut. She was so happy. That Angel, and that's whether it's a haircut, whether it's working out, whether anything that you can do that gives you a feeling that you feel better about yourself is absolutely huge. I'm actually working out again, which I haven't done in a long time. Because of my health, I haven't been doing it. And I was talking to the doctor about it, and he said, no, I think it's probably a really bad idea. And you know what? Anytime a doctor tells me something's a really bad idea, I'm almost always 100% sure that they're wrong. And I'm not doing wild weightlifting or anything else. I just got back into doing yoga because it was such a huge part of my sobriety in the beginning. It was just really a massive part of what I did. And I kind of gave it up. And these days I am back doing yoga and I feel pretty good about it. CK, also just did herself a new do. Of course, we haven't seen it. She could have posted a photo or something, but that's all right. I'm just busting your chops. Just busting your chops. Peoples, this absolutely gorgeous watch I'm wearing that belongs to somebody else tells me that our time is nearing the end. But it was good to get up again this morning and talk to you guys. It really was. Now I'm going to go let Squirrel in from the garage. She's been mouse hunting. You posted on Facebook. Well, I'm going to have to go look at that. Full of Hope says, I love this crew. I love this boat. I really do. And everybody on it. Let's see. I really do love this boat. By the way, shout out to Mark Wages. Mark did a good show yesterday over on his channel, and he gave us Sarah. Good to see you. And he gave the lifeboat a good shout out. And every time he does, we pick up about 9 new subscribers, 10 new subscribers. I am working diligently on Mark's busy as hell, and it's good. I can't tell you all of it because he's doing some stuff that is still in the top secret mode, but he's really doing some wonderful stuff with his channel. And there's a really big thing that's coming up for his channel, which is awesome. You guys will learn about it soon enough. But Mark's in a good place, people. I'm telling you right now, Mark's in a good place. His head is in a great place, and it's great to see Mark really back to being Mark. And I would not want to pull him back in. I really wouldn't. This was too much with everything that he was doing, and it was costing him things that it shouldn't have cost him, things that he's really good at and that he really has a passion for. So, but I do intend to drag him back for one show, maybe 2, where he's going to start stopping in every once in a while and just doing a show with us, because Mark loves the lifeboat. He really does. It's something that still means a ton to him. But people, we don't want to do anything to. We always want to make sure that everything we do makes people's lives better. And as much as he loves and is passionate about this boat, it was not making his life better. It was just too much. And that's really what it comes down to. And I love the guy. I really do. Dennis says, I'm here because of Mark Wages. I got news for you. So am I. So am I. Mark came along at a time where I was so overwhelmed by YouTube that if it were not for Mark, I wouldn't be here. And I promise you that. The boat should not cost because it gives real focus. Yeah, and I want it to always be something that is a gift, not anything that costs anybody. I spent yesterday in his man cave. Always ice cold beer and fridge, but I'm strong enough now to turn the music up, sing along, dance, work on my project, and not drink. Wow. How cool is that? How cool is that? Grace, that is amazing. It really is. That is absolutely a beautiful note to end on. People, be honest with yourself. Be honest with yourself. If you're not where you ought to be, get where you ought to be. Work on it. Ask people for help. Nothing wrong with that. Heather, thanks again for yesterday. Great job. Great job. People, no cat in a basket. She's hunting. Mousing. She's a champion mouser, that cat of mine. And we will see you this evening on the lifeboat between now and then. Tell yourself the truth, huh? God bless. I'm Captain Tommy Scoville. We'll see you on deck. Bye-bye. I love this boat.